You've been trying to manifest for months, maybe years. You visualize every morning. You affirm all day. You script in your journal. You follow every technique, every teacher, every method. And yet, the thing you want most remains just out of reach. Meanwhile, the things you barely thought about, the parking spot, the random text, the unexpected money, showed up effortlessly. Here's what nobody tells you. The reason your biggest desires aren't manifesting isn't because you're not trying hard enough. It's because you're trying too hard. And that effort, that constant pushing, forcing, visualizing, affirming, is the exact energy that's blocking what you want from arriving. This sounds like spiritual nonsense, but it's quantum physics. And once you understand why, the less you try, the faster it happens. You'll never approach manifestation the same way again. This video will show you the quantum proof behind why effort delays manifestation, what actually collapses probability waves into reality, and how to shift from trying to allowing so that what you want can finally arrive. Not because you worked harder, but because you stopped working at all. The watched pot effect. In quantum mechanics, there's a phenomenon called the quantum Zeno effect. It states that if you continuously observe a quantum system, you prevent it from evolving. The more frequently you measure it, the more you lock it into its current state. In other words, the watched pot never boils, not metaphorically, but literally, at the quantum level. When you constantly check if your manifestation has arrived yet, when you visualize obsessively trying to make it happen, when you affirm desperately trying to convince yourself it's coming, you're doing the quantum equivalent of watching the pot. You're collapsing the wave function prematurely. You're interrupting the natural evolution of possibility into form. Think of manifestation like developing a photograph in a dark room. The image is forming in the solution, but if you keep opening the door to check if it's ready, you flood it with light and ruin the process. The image was coming, but your checking destroyed it. Your desire was manifesting, but your monitoring collapsed it back into potential instead of letting it solidify into reality. Effort creates resistance. Here's the deeper quantum truth. Effort doesn't just slow manifestation, it creates the opposite frequency. When you try hard to manifest something, what are you actually broadcasting into the quantum field? I don't have it. I need it. It's not here yet. I must make it happen. That's lack. That's separation. That's the frequency of absence, not presence. And the quantum field, being a perfect mirror, responds to the frequency you're actually transmitting, not the one you think you're transmitting. Let me be clear. Visualization isn't the problem. Affirmations aren't the problem. The problem is the energy behind them. If you're visualizing from a place of trying to create something that doesn't exist yet, you're affirming absence. But if something naturally crosses your mind because it already feels real, that's not effort, that's alignment. And there's a quantum difference between the two. Superposition requires space. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition in multiple states simultaneously until they're observed. The moment observation occurs, the wave function collapses into a single definite state. But here's what most people miss. Superposition requires non-observation. It requires space. It requires you to not be constantly measuring, checking, controlling. Your desire exists right now in the quantum field as a probability wave. All possible versions of your life, including the one where you already have what you want, exist simultaneously. The version that becomes your lived reality depends on which frequency you align with most consistently. But constant effort keeps you aligned with the trying frequency, not the having frequency. And as long as you're trying, you're telling the field you don't have it, so it remains in superposition possible, but not actual. The trying frequency. Every emotion, every thought, every state of being has an electromagnetic frequency. When you try to manifest, you generate what I call the trying frequency. And the trying frequency contains within it several conflicting signals that confuse the quantum field. First, trying implies future tense. I'm trying to get this means it's not here now. So you're broadcasting now absence while hoping for future presence. But the quantum field only responds to now. It doesn't recognize future or past. It reads your current electromagnetic state and mirrors it. So if your current state is trying to have, the field gives you more opportunities to try, not to have, to try. Second, trying implies doubt. If you were certain, you wouldn't need to try. Trying is what you do when you're not sure something will work. So embedded in the trying frequency is uncertainty. And uncertainty is a scattered signal. The field can't organize around chaos. It needs coherence, and effort creates incoherence. Desire versus desperation. There's a quantum difference between desire and desperation. Desire is clean. It's the recognition of what you want without attachment to the how or when. It's preference without neediness. Desire says, this would be wonderful. Desperation says, I need this or I won't be okay. When you move from desire into desperation, which happens the moment you start trying too hard, you shift from creation mode into survival mode. And survival mode activates your sympathetic nervous system. Your body believes it's under threat. Your heart rhythm becomes chaotic. Your electromagnetic field becomes incoherent. And in that state, you cannot manifest. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because you're broadcasting a frequency that the field cannot organize around. The irony is that the things you want most are often the things you try hardest to manifest, which means they're the things you're most desperate for, which means they're the things your nervous system is most chaotic about, which means they're the things that take longest to arrive, not because they're harder to manifest, but because your relationship with them is the most distorted. Attachment collapses incorrectly. In quantum physics, how you observe determines what you see. If you observe a particle as a wave, it behaves as a wave. If you observe it as a particle, it behaves as a particle. The observer doesn't just witness reality, the observer participates in creating it. When you're attached to a specific outcome, you're observing from limitation. You're looking for one particular arrangement of reality and rejecting all others. And that rigidity causes the wave function to collapse into limitation. You get what you're looking for, but only in the constrained way you're looking for it. But when you release attachment, when you allow rather than control, you're observing from possibility. You're open to the outcome you want, or something even better. And that openness allows the quantum field to deliver in ways you couldn't have orchestrated. The field is infinitely intelligent, but it can only work with the space you give it, and effort eliminates space. The Tao of allowing. Ancient Taoism has a concept called Wu Wei. It's often translated as effortless action or non-doing, but it's not about being passive. It's about aligning with the natural flow of reality instead of forcing outcomes. It's about acting from presence instead of from lack. Modern quantum physics is now proving what Taoist masters knew thousands of years ago. The universe operates through flow, not force. Water doesn't try to reach the ocean. It simply follows the path of least resistance. Trees don't try to grow. They allow growth by being rooted and open to light. Planets don't try to orbit. They surrender to gravity's pull. Manifestation works the same way. What you want is already moving toward you through the quantum field. Your job isn't to make it happen. Your job is to become the frequency match so it can land in your reality. And you can't become a frequency match through effort. You become a frequency match through alignment, through being, not doing. The neuroscience of allowing. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Neuroscience research shows that when you're in a state of striving, trying, forcing, efforting, your brain activates the default mode network. This is the part of your brain associated with rumination, self-criticism, and mental time travel into past and future. It's the trying to figure it out brain. And when this network is active, your brain is literally unable to receive new information from the environment. You're stuck in a loop, replaying old patterns, unable to notice the opportunities and synchronicities showing up around you. But when you relax, when you stop trying, and start allowing your brain shifts into what neuroscientists call the task-positive network, this is the present moment awareness brain, the noticing brain, the open to receiving brain. And in this state, you become aware of things you were completely blind to before. The signs, the people, the ideas, the pathways, they were always there. But your effort brain couldn't see them. This is why the answer always comes when you stop looking for it. Not because the universe is playing games, but because your brain literally cannot receive solutions while it's in trying mode. Heart coherence and manifestation speed. The HeartMath Institute has done groundbreaking research on something called heart coherence. When your heart rhythm is smooth and ordered, when you're in a state of appreciation, ease, or calm, your heart generates a coherent electromagnetic field. And that coherent field is what the quantum field responds to. But when you're trying hard, striving, pushing, your heart rhythm becomes chaotic, jagged, incoherent. And no matter how perfect your visualization or how many times you affirm, that chaotic signal is what you're broadcasting. That's what the field receives. That's what it mirrors back. The fastest manifestations happen when people are in coherent states, relaxed, trusting, appreciating what is. Not because they stopped caring about what they want, but because they stopped needing it to feel okay. That shift from need to preference, from desperation to ease, creates the electromagnetic coherence that allows instant manifestation. Practice 1. Notice the trying. You can't stop trying until you notice you're doing it. So your first practice is awareness. Throughout your day, catch yourself in the trying energy. Notice when you're checking if it's here yet. Notice when you're mentally rehearsing how to make it happen. Notice when you're scrolling for signs. Notice when you're forcing visualization instead of allowing it to emerge naturally. You don't need to judge it, just notice it. Because in the noticing, you create space. And in that space, trying can dissolve. Practice 2. Shift to preference. Instead of, I need this to happen, shift to, I prefer this. Instead of, I must manifest this, or I'll never be happy, shift to, this would be wonderful. And I'm also okay right now. This isn't about lowering your standards. It's about removing the desperation that distorts your signal. Preference carries desire without neediness. It's the frequency of having, not lacking. And the field responds to preference far faster than it responds to desperation. Practice 3. Fill your life with alignment. Here's a paradox. The fastest way to manifest what you want is to feel fulfilled without it. Not because you're tricking the universe, but because fulfillment is the frequency of having. And when you're in the frequency of having, you attract more to have. So instead of trying to manifest, spend your energy on things that genuinely fulfill you right now. Create, connect, appreciate, move your body, laugh, serve. When your life is full, you stop needing your manifestation to complete you. And in that completeness, it arrives. Practice 4. Trust the field. Finally, trust that the quantum field is far more intelligent than your conscious mind. It sees pathways you can't see. It arranges synchronicities you could never orchestrate. It knows the perfect timing, the perfect how, the perfect sequence. Your trying comes from the belief that if you don't control it, it won't happen. But the opposite is true. When you stop controlling and start trusting, the field can work with far more power and precision than your limited efforts ever could. So let go, not because you don't care, but because you care enough to let something greater than your small self bring it into form. Here's what I want you to take away. Manifestation isn't about doing more. It's about being more aligned. The less you try, the faster it happens, not because effort is bad, but because trying creates the frequency of lack, while allowing creates the frequency of having. Stop watching the pot. Stop checking if it's here yet. Stop forcing the visualization. Instead, become the person who already has it. not by pretending, but by genuinely filling your life with fulfillment, appreciation, and trust right now. The quantum field is always responding. It's responding to your electromagnetic state in this moment. And the moment your state shifts from trying to allowing, from need to preference, from control to trust, everything you've been trying to manifest can finally land. Not because you worked harder, but because you stopped working against yourself. If this resonates, comment, "I allow," and let that be your declaration that you're done trying and ready to receive. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stop trying, start allowing, and watch how fast your reality shifts.